Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee, and we're here with Let's Talk with Carl Lee. It's going to be an interesting show today. I can sense some tension in the room already. My co-host Hollis Lewis is over here to my left, and we have a gentleman to our right. I want you to introduce yourself and tell us all the good stuff about yourself. And we'll wait on it. If it's a long list, we'll wait on you just because we want all the good stuff.
If it's good stuff about me, we're going to be here for a long time because I can talk about myself for a long time. My name's Jeff Stephens. Hollis invited me here, and I could go on about our relationship. We met in Wheeling, actually, at the interim meetings for the House of Delegates. So we were just both appointed and just kind of met up and got to know each other. And I realized that he had this sports talk going on and stuff that he does. And then I have a sports website up in the Ohio Valley. It's called Ohio Valley Athletics.
Okay.
And so we just kind of talked, and we were at a sports complex, which made it kind of nice. And Hollis is going to come visit us up in Wheeling. He's going to bring his kids. He's going to stay at Ogilvy possibly, or maybe Grandview. I might get him to stay at Grandview or Marshall County.
I stayed at Ogilvy, so I can
you should see the pool they opened up at Grandview. When your kids see this, you're not staying at Ogilvy anymore. You'll stay at Grandview when you see the pool facility they open up there.
Isn't there a golf course at Ogilvy?
There's 2 golf courses at Ogilvy. And so, you can play a little golf, but I'll show you I'll get you one of the new cabins up there. We'll get Craig White to hook you up at Grandview. You can stay there in Moundsville. Go up to the sports complex. Your kids can climb on the wall and everything and play basketball, football, whatever they want to do up there. Yeah. So like I mentioned, I own a local website. It's called OhioValleyAthletics.com. We cover like local sports. We're credentialed with the MEC, with West Liberty, Wheeling University, Bethany College, everybody up there. So we do all kind of events. I'm here with House of Delegates, like I mentioned. That's how Hollis and I met, and I'm a teacher is my day job, and athletic director at our middle school. I coached high school girls basketball for 5 years. I coached middle school girls basketball at Sherrard for 10 years and football at Sherrard for 14 years. So
wow, okay.
A little bit of a sports background there for me. The athletic director allows all sides of it, and just really happy to be here. I'm usually not the least good-looking guy in the room, but I might be today. I don't know. I'm well-dressed, though, so
both of you are out-dressed to me. Yeah. So, if in case you didn't catch where he's from, it's Wheeling. Okay, now, so
Wheeling area.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so clearly we have, I guess, on this end of it, we're celebrating the Super Six being back here in Charleston.
Yeah.
And so we're going to open the show up with a little bit of a debate about whether, was that the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Hollis,
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
First, because back in the day when you were in high school, the Super Six was in Charleston, correct?
Yes.
So do you find, and you've been around for both, when it's been in Wheeling, been in Charleston, is this a good move from your perspective, kind of bringing it back home, if you will?
I'm going to say yes, but it's only beneficial to me because now I can come to it, because I'm not, what I'm saying? And if for me to go to Wheeling, I've got to probably have a kid in the hunt or maybe a team in the hunt.
But just far as a game is concerned, just far as the venue, everything else, just far as, is this the right venue to have? I guess it's it's the 8. It's 8 now.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother
Is it still going to be the Super 6 with 8 teams? Are they going to pull a Big 10, Big 12?
Yeah, it's going to be the Elite 8 or 8. It's Super 8.
Grade 8?
The grade 8. That's probably better.
Okay, so
can I trademark that right now?
Yeah. The grade 8.
So if what you're trying to get from me is where would I prefer it?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Where would you prefer it? Just as a
I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna say, yeah, I would rather it be here in Charleston. Just because it's easier for me to get to.
But is it better to be here in Charleston, or is it better to be at a different part
It's
of
better
the
for
state?
me.
Not for
Well,
you.
that's what I'm saying.
Objectively, not about you.
Objectively, I had made the case that I thought that, playing at Marshall, playing at WVU, rotating that circuit looked better.
And that's what a lot of people thought.
Looked better to me. Now, I threw that out earlier today, knowing that we were going to have this discussion. And the conversation to this was the stadiums are so big it makes it look empty.
Yeah. But that's every other state does it like that.
But if I'm the kid on the field and I'm thinking I'm playing right where WVU plays, I'm playing where Marshall plays, you can't tell me anything. I don't care. I don't care who's in there. Mom and dad's there. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So that if I would have had a choice, if somebody would have came to me and said, "Where would you want it?" I'd say I'd like that rotation.
Okay. All right, so Delegate Stephens, we'll go to you. I let the guests go before I go. So
he
what's
wants to hear what you're going to say. Right,
That's all right. I like going first.
What's the case for keeping it in Wheeling? What's the case?
I just, being around it, and our website was actually a sponsor, and just being there for 30 years, I didn't miss too many games. I just know what they did for the kids. So when the kids arrived, it was not just you arrive, play a game, and you leave. And from my understanding, that's kind of how it was when it was in Charleston before 1994. I think that's the year it moved. When you come to Wheeling, they have receptions for you. They have local restaurants will feed the kids, and they'll do a really nice reception. They had a lot of local sponsors that really got on board. And so these sponsors would have a bunch of things for the kids, like they put a bag together for them with all kind of Super Six like merchandise and things like that, like a bag with all kind of different things for them. They'd have the National Guard come in and hang up the kids' uniforms in their lockers, like arrange the locker rooms, arrange the helmets before the kids got to the stadium. And it's a lot of those extras that I'm really looking for, and hopefully the leaders in Charleston can do that, because I think it was more than just the game itself, but on top of what they did for the kids, the atmosphere that they had. If you've ever been to Wheeling Island Stadium, there's no track there, so it's just the football field, and the stands are right on top of the football field.
Right.
And so it gives the fans a little better perspective of that. And then what Wheeling has to offer in the local area, my mailing address is Wheeling. I'm from just Marshall County, which is just south. I know that, John Marshall just did a great, beautiful football facility, and it was available to be used by the teams. And then you have the sports complex, Hollis, that you were at.
Yeah,
where if you want an indoor practice facility, they have a full football field for an indoor practice facility for the teams that come up. And, if you're from outside the area, you could go there and practice. And it's just the outside things that Wheeling provided for the kids.
Well, let me ask this question.
And just to bring more context to that before you go, it's just they have an indoor stadium, and then right beside the indoor stadium is an outdoor stadium. So
okay, that's where I was getting ready. That's what I was getting ready to touch on. So
beautiful up there.
So if both, and I don't know if this is the truth to this or not, but let's say it's two teams that are not in the area that are playing, that are going to be playing
in Wheeling.
No, let's say in Charleston.
Oh, okay, in Charleston, I got you.
And it's raining. Mm-hmm. Where do they go? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Where they go to practice?
Yes.
I'll say this. I think to defend Charleston, we don't have an indoor stadium. So, I mean, we don't have that yet. But they do have all the turf fields. So all the city fields, for example, like the King Center is all turf. And we also have Shawnee, which that's multiple football fields. And I think all of them are turf fields. So they would be able to play or practice on that. Now, they would have to practice in the elements, but those are turf fields.
And
I do think if you're going to host it, you have to be prepared for all of the elements that come with it.
Yeah, very true.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't care who gets it. I don't know where it's at. I don't know if you do it at Shawnee, if you can even do it at Shawnee, but somebody has to have an indoor facility if you are going to continuously want to host the biggest game.
Do you need an indoor facility when the game is outside anyway?
No, but but again, even practice. Like, can you, let's say you have 3 days of rain, a decent amount of rain, where are you going to go?
That's true too. I mean,
where are you going to practice?
The stadium's all is available, and like I said, you just go 10 miles south. You're at John Marshall, beautiful new facility. Even if you want to drive a little bit to Cameron, it's also in Marshall County. Their turf, Brooks Field, which is another 20 miles away, is also turf. They have a really nice facility. So you have some facilities that are all turf that are really close to Wheeling. To add, they put a huge new jumbotron in, to the stadium, and just a little shout out to the ladies that take care of us from Wheeling Park in the hospitality room. They make the best food. So when you guys are in the meeting, you found the hospitality room. You can't lie to me and tell me you don't know where the hospitality room is, and you go to that hospitality room and they have the best food.
Let me ask you this: outside of the accommodations that you've already mentioned, where do the kids normally stay? Far as like hotel and different things of that nature?
Hotels, I know we've had teams. I worked at the McClure Hotel, which is in downtown Wheeling. We had Martinsburg stay there twice or 3 times. Martinsburg stayed there. And then there's the Hampton Inn that's also in Wheeling. They've stayed there. Moundsville just built a brand new hotel. I don't know if any teams stayed there, but it would always be always available. Yeah. Up at the Highlands where we were for the sports complex, there's 2 or 3 hotels up there now. So there's a lot of hotels in the Wheeling area. St. Clairsville, which is 10, 15 miles away. There's
how much of this is
hotels.
Based off of the actual games? That the playoff games.
We didn't mention any the playing yet. The actual playing of the football games.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm curious about how much of this is targeted for that particular situation.
And I know, Carl, with you being from this area, correct? You're okay. And I can remember being young and sometimes looking at Laidley Field during the Super 6 championships, and the stadium was a little empty. You will not find that in Wheeling. I think a lot of I'm not saying that people in Charleston, but it didn't seem like they got like the community support. And I don't know if it's because they were just so used to it being here, but it seems like in Wheeling, like people from the area come. So you'll have people from Brook and Moundsville. You'll have people from St. Clairsville and Belair, and you'll have people that's Ohio.
So you're saying people come to the game.
People outside of the schools show up for the games, and the stadium gets pretty filled with the games just from people wanting to watch football. And I don't know if you get that drive here in Charleston like you do there.
I'll say this, though. I would say that, again, my first initial vote obviously was for the rotation of WU and Marshall. I thought that made the most sense. But, Charleston got it. I'm a Charleston guy. And I would say I can't speak to exactly what's going to happen, but I know the administration, our city officials here, from our council to our mayor's office, our county commission, I know they're all in with sports travel, and I think that they're going to make every effort to make this comparable to what Wheeling was and maybe even better if possible. Now, with that being said, there are going to have to be significant upgrades to Laidley Field. I mean, that's just, we cannot skirt that fact that Laidley Field needs significant upgrades. Because I know the last big upgrade was a big deal. Yeah, you mean the turf?
Yes.
That was what 4 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5
years ago.
Yeah. And it needs to be replaced again.
And I was going to say, once you, if that's your star attraction.
I don't think so, because everybody has that now. Well, that's not really a big deal no more.
Well, let me say it. Let me try to say it this way.
I think Charleston,
if you're going to be a draw, if Charleston is going to be a sports draw, a football sports draw, to want people to come, I think that there is work to be done.
100%.
I mean, you gotta draw people like you. It's got to be the best facility possible and potentially even the best facility in the state.
Yeah, because I would say you're going to need, to Delegate Stephens' point, you're going to need a jumbotron. You're going to need new turf. You're going to need locker room improvements. In addition, you're going to have somewhere, in my mind, where you have like a hospitality room. So it's kind of like, what State has, like kind of the field house type of vibe. Not a field house per se, but actually, a building constructed where you can have
types of things.
Yeah, you can have different type of things where you have receptions and that nature.
I told you you'd come back to that hospitality room. I know you better than you think I know. Yeah, and I think, maybe you both could probably speak of this a little better than me. But with Wheeling Park being the only public high school in Ohio County, when they need money to upgrade those facilities, that money can all go towards that facility. To where here in Charleston you have South Charleston and Capitol and
GW,
Riverside and GW, St. Albans, right? St. Albans. So
Catholic,
if they're going to do if they're going to say, okay, we're going to do stadium upgrades and we're going to put a jumbotron at Lately Field.
That's basically everybody.
Okay, so now
that's basically Capitol.
So now that's Capitol. So now you're going to have South Charleston's going to be like, we want one. Okay, GW. We want one. St. Albans, right?
Yeah.
Nitro?
Yeah.
Nitro too.
We want one?
Yeah.
So now, are you upgrading 6 facilities, or you have to explain to these parents that we're upgrading lately? We got the Super 6 there. And they're going to be like, yeah, but we play here.
See how Delegate think?
I'm putting somebody in a tough spot. I don't know who.
See how Delegate think?
Yeah, when you think about it, I get it. I totally get it that it's not for a game.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to see it. South Charleston's not going to look at that and say, okay, they did Lately Field. They put this up at Lately Field just for the North-South game. That's as much for Cap as it is for anything.
Yeah,
so then have access to where are we? Why can't we get that?
But I think the same argument they can kind of spit that argument back. Well, this is a public field. We have to play here. I think Capitol's argument, if we could play at our school, we would play up there. But I think for Charleston, I think the draw for Charleston is I think we are a emerging city. Our downtown is already constructed. When you look at Wheeling, their downtown's not constructed yet. It will be in a few years. They're working on it. So I think that for the ambiance and the things that we already have here in Charleston, we have hotels, we have everything. The only thing we're really lacking, and I think the argument that you would have against it, is strictly, facilities. And I think that could be remedied. Now, the problem is that you're on the clock. You got about 10 months. And I don't know what's going to be done in exactly 10 months considering everything else you have going on. You got still track and field. You got preseason football. You got soccer. You got all this stuff that's still being played at that facility. So I don't even know how you upgrade the turf at this point with everything you got going on.
Now, do you want me to bring up something that could lead us down a different road?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could this lead to Wheeling bidding on the basketball championships, having them at West Banco? I've heard that before.
And West Banco's that's a nice facility as well.
I mean that we might be going down a long path.
Well, and again, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak just as in the space of the athlete. I don't have time to try to figure out the political side. Mm-hmm. I just want to play on the best facility that I can play on. Because
there you go.
Because I could be a senior, and this is my last shot. Maybe college football is not my thing. This is the last game that I'm playing in West Virginia.
And this is what you worked your whole life to get to.
I worked my whole life to be in the playoffs. Now I might even be in the championship, and I want that championship to be something that I'm never going to forget. So don't give me a half-done facility.
So
give me the best facility that the state has to offer.
How about rolling out the red carpet? You want the
Yes, I want the red carpet. I want the red carpet.
Wheeling had a really long red carpet when you came to town. When you came to town, that red carpet was long, and when you got there, I mean, it was special for these kids. And as we come back to it, I know Hollis has kids, and they're into sports a little bit. And Carl, I think you mentioned real quick that you had children, correct?
I got a son. Okay. He's out of it. I got a grandson now. So
okay, and so when you have those people and they come and see these things, we got to talk about the kids. So I'm telling you, Charleston has its work cut out for it to treat the kids how Wheeling treated them, how these local businesses got behind the Super Six and just supported the kids and what they did for them. And I'm not saying they can't do it. I think they got a great blueprint, and they need to look at that and say, we need to do that for these kids. We can't just have them come into town on a bus, play a football game, get them on that bus, and get them out of town. We need to bring them in. And we need to do all kinds of things for them.
To that point, do you think there's going to be any consultation with the folks in Wheeling, to just get some tips and everything like that?
I would hope so. I would hope that. I would hope.
Have there never been any conversation?
I don't know because I hope there's got to be a little animosity between the two. Right. I mean, I hope not.
Either animosity or they should be talking.
But our mayor's from Wheeling. Mayor Goodwin's from the Wheeling area, I believe, right? So she's from that area. I think she went to Wheeling Park.
There's a lot of good ones in Wheeling. I can tell you that.
So maybe there might be some conversation.
I would hope so. I would hope on both sides. Like Wheeling would want to share that because remember who we're doing this for is kids.
That's
let's leave the adults out of the room and just say what's best for the kids. And Wheeling's going to say, hey, they really liked it when we did this for them. You might want to try to do this. Get a business to sponsor the dinner before the game. Get a reception at one of the hotels and have these kids and give out awards. And maybe Wheeling could share that, and then Charleston could come back and say, hey, this situation, what would you do? Like how did the kids feel so welcome? And hopefully the adults in the room can say, why are we really doing this? Are we doing this for us? Are we doing this for these kids?
That's a great transition for us getting adults in the room.
But I was going to say, because
I've done this before.
Because when you start talking about adults working together from different places, and sports. That's
But hopefully these adults can work it out.
The next half of the show, we'll be trying to figure out how come we can't get it. Yeah. We can show you what it looks like on the opposite side of that.
When it don't work.
Yeah, when it doesn't work. The concept is, again, the focus has to be on the reality of the treatment of the kids.
That's a great point.
It's the piece. It is their last opportunity. Every weekend that there's a game, somebody's playing their last football game ever.
Yeah.
And they're in the Super 8, the Super 6,
the grade 8.
The grade 8. They have the opportunity to be patted on the back as they leave.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, I don't care where it's at. I got no vested interest in it, but I think that has to happen.
That's probably the kind of, we can probably put a pin in the clip right here or put a pin in it, because I think that's the pertinent issue, right? It's got to be focused on the kids. That's the point that, no matter, like you said, no matter where it's at, whether Charleston, Wheeling, now it's in Charleston, Charleston has to make every effort to focus on those 200, 300 plus kids that's going to come down here and play that ball game.
And if you don't know, Charleston, if you don't know what's happened, what they're doing, reach out. You got to reach out. Don't just say we're going to take this over and they're going to come in, go to the hotel, try to find somewhere to eat, all this kind of stuff, when that should be some of the things that you should be already setting up.
Because to my knowledge, and again, I don't know everything or I haven't seen everything, but I don't remember any complaints about Wheeling out. I don't remember parents or schools. Nobody really complained about it being there.
It's the friendly city. So
that's a good point.
I haven't really never heard that.
Great point. And just the amenities that are around, all different kind of restaurants and hotels and stuff to do. Hollis, you were there.
Yeah.
If you're traveling up there, if your son's playing in the game, your daughter's a cheerleader, or you come to Wheeling and you have other kids, they're off with the team, you can take them somewhere else and something to do. And not that Charleston does have stuff like that to offer, but I think possibly to get that out there to the teams. Like, hey, if you have kids, if you're bringing kids here, here's some things to do while your son is playing, your daughter is cheerleading, that they could do while you're in town.
The cheerleaders. Shout out Delegate Stephens. Yeah, we can't forget the cheerleaders.
Yeah, well, and I'm wondering.
Don't worry, my cheer coach would let me know if I forgot about the cheerleaders. Don't worry about that.
Is there, no matter where the game's been going to be, is there, if I'm a player, and again, I'm staying on the player side, the safe place, okay? and parents want to know what we do. What are we doing? What is the game doing for us? The fact that we've made it into this unique group of teams, a large majority of us playing our last football game. What is the community? Is the community setting these things up, and are they posting them like, okay, first day in, you're going to do this, and this, and this, and this?
You're talking about having an itinerary for players, parents, everybody?
Yeah.
That's actually
You've never – I've seen the itinerary. Like, Wheeling had it set up for them. Like, they knew. Like, they had.
Okay, so Wheeling has that.
They had an itinerary, like, this is what the team's doing. Yeah, I'm telling you, like, when you do something for 30 years, and Hollis, you brought up a great point, I believe, no complaints.
Yeah, I never heard complaints.
Because they were so organized. Now, there's probably almost nobody left, I wouldn't say, from the last group that had this in Charleston 30 years ago. I wouldn't say there's not a lot of people involved in that process.
It's been that long?
30 years, yeah, it's Wheeling 30 years. 1994 was the first one in Wheeling.
I think, was the last one. The Randy Moss South Charleston team, I think, was the last one.
So that would have been 1994 was the first time up in Wheeling, and they had that thing going, and they passed it down to people. Like, it was like an honor to be in that group that always did the bids, and they did. I mean,
Would it be possible? Would it be possible? Would the folks from Wheeling, those folks that are stepping away, or the ones that are still there, would they offer advice, or would that be seemingly offensive, or could be seen offensive to Charleston, or I don't understand why Charleston wouldn't have a conversation about what did you all do, how did you do it, who did you speak to? Because restaurants, there could be a chain there, it could be a chain here. So that same restaurant could do the same thing just here locally. Is there any potential of communicating from either side?
I would like to think so. I would like to think so. I'd like to think that I hope both groups are battling to see who calls who first, if they haven't already spoke.
Yeah.
I just really think, because I mean, I personally know some people that are involved in the Wheeling group, and they're also involved in education. And they're in it for kids, and if they are, the advice that they could give, I think would be incredible. And Charleston as well could be like, okay, how do we do this? Like, even to get some local sponsors. Like, how did you guys get local sponsors? Like, what was the idea? What was your the return on their investment? What were they getting in return on their investment? Can we get some information from you? And I hope both sides would just be fighting to see who's going to contact who first, just to get all that information out there, because the kids.
And I like your idea, Coach. I think you have an itinerary for the kids and have an itinerary for the spectators as well. So it can be kind of, we're doing this. These are the activities going on this end, and these are activities going on that end. I think a great idea.
I think you have to do that.
Yeah. So everybody kind of has something to do while we're here. So you kind of exploring the city.
Even to the point of, let's say, it's from Wheeling to Charleston, Charleston to somewhere to somewhere. Every single time that it's bounced to someplace else, you have the blueprint.
Yeah.
So every game provides you the attention for the young athletes who are playing potentially their last game. The parents get the pleasure of being part of it. Coaches get to celebrate the fact that they're there. And everybody's happy.
Yeah, because I wonder how they're going to do it with the additional game now, because traditionally you would have one game on Friday and you have the 2 games on Saturday. So I'm thinking now, would they have the 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday?
I think it's 2. I think it's 2 Friday and 2 Saturday. I don't know if it's set in stone yet, but I think that was the proposal is 2 and 2.
So that brings an extra 2 or 3 days, because if that's the format, then you would probably have to at least get here on Wednesday. You would want to get here on Wednesday, kind of get set up.
You'd want to, depending on where you were from.
Yeah,
you know,
if you're from Martinsburg, you don't want to get here on Thursday. That's not going to work.
No, and we more than likely we probably will try to do something live.
Yeah, for sure.
For somewhere at the stadium at some point in time. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit, and I'm gonna say this before we get into this topic.
Yeah.
I think that this is only going to be personal to you if you are guilty. You know. Yeah. We have, Hollis and I have been communicating over the last couple of weeks, and everything has been about, this issue of, this issue at this youth basketball game, this issue at this game, this issue at this game. And then I was actually involved in one in our All-Star game, and Sunday night was talking to a former player of mine who they just had come off of basically a standoff that could have gotten really ugly. And we're consistently finding ourselves into these situations. And if you haven't seen the situation in Atlanta, it was a 7-on-7, and it just ends up becoming a brawl.
With Cam Newton. Potential Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yes.
And they're fighting kids.
And throwing blows. I mean,
a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, a college Hall of Fame quarterback, a Heisman Trophy winner, fighting kids.
Why didn't I see this?
You haven't seen it?
I have not seen it. I'm like shut off from all news. I'm down here and I'm shut off from all news. Ask me about a bill in the House or the Senate, and I'll tell you about it.
It's crazy. And I was talking on Dave Weekly's show. We had talked about this situation, and I explained to him, like, we had an adult call a 15-year-old girl the B word. Now, her dad's hearing that. Okay? He hears that from the bleachers. He's sitting in the bleachers. Normally he sits up top away from everybody, but he just so happened he was close enough to hear it.
Jeez.
Now, I got a son. I don't have a daughter. But if I can only imagine.
You got sisters.
I got sisters.
Yeah, you got sisters.
And if you throw that out there, bro, you got an issue. Okay? We've got an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, so I get him, and the guy is the nicest dude ever, right? He's been youth football, he's coached at youth football for the city. The nicest dude ever. So when I'm hearing him and I'm looking at him, I'm looking at his face and I'm seeing the anger in his face. I know somebody's done something, and I know it ain't him. Jeez. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to him. He's calmed down, and the lady is sitting there just as calm as nothing's happened and just keeps talking. And I look at her and I said, ma'am, could you just please just stop talking? If you'll just stop talking, we can get this. And she's still chattering. Yeah. What is going on?
So I guess the question we talked about this last week. Like, what is going on with youth sports, high school sports, that makes people so enraged to fight and cuss at kids? Well, like, what's going on from your perspective?
That's what I was going to ask you guys. I don't have children, but I'm around 400 kids every day. Former coach and athletic director, athletic administrator, and I'm at the middle school level, and we have security at our games. We have a sheriff at our games.
We have two police officers at the city.
Luckily, we've never had anything major at Sherrard, or what I would consider major at Sherrard, but I know not this last basketball season, but the basketball season before, there were some big fights at middle school basketball games, like fist fights. We did almost have an altercation the year before with a boys' game, not at home.
Now, are these parents or the kids fighting?
Oh, these are parents. Let's face it. The kids. It's not going to be. These were all parent-driven. Some couple local schools in Ohio, and we did. We had a little battle at one of our middle school boys' games, not at home. It was on the road. And again, it wasn't the kids, it's the parents. And I was going to try to ask you guys, Hollis, I know you a little better. I just met Carl here, but you guys seem like you would not be the ones leading the charge in the stands, yelling and screaming and cursing at officials. I mean, I received a video the other day of a person, you could see him in the stands. They threw something at one of the officials and hit one of the officials. So I was going to try to get it, like, what is wrong with people?
Which speaks to why there's a shortage of officials now, because who wants to do that? Like, who wants to officiate and get all that yelling and screaming?
The abuse.
It's abuse. And I'm, just so you know, I'm the guy, he can confirm it, I'm the guy who's telling none of my players to speak to the officials. I'm not yelling at the official. I'm not cussing at the officials. He ain't going to change his call for me. I don't care if I have 1,000 Pro Bowls. He ain't going to change it for me, you, or anybody else. It's just not going to happen. Can they miss a call? Absolutely. Yeah. Do they know they missed a call? Absolutely. But they can't change it.
But what is it about a parent, like at a bitty ball basketball game,
that relevant?
That would it be that important where you would have to cuss at a ref, when you would call a little girl, a little boy out there, call them out their name and potentially get in fights with their parents? Like, what's the driving force behind that? Because I don't quite understand that.
How many youth football games, basketball games, track can you remember?
Yeah, I remember quite a few, but it's like...
See, I'm old enough, so you might be still young enough to remember something. Yeah. I remember one youth game where I scored a touchdown on a guard reverse. That's it. That's it. Yeah. I can't, I literally, and maybe it's the football thing, but I can't.
I don't remember a lot, but I remember some. But to your point, I see where you're going. It wasn't that important. I remember the times we won, good times, scoring touchdowns, hitting the baseball.
Yes,
and that's kind of it. You remember the good plays, few bad plays,
something that stuck with you, but nothing.
A lesson or two.
Nothing that was enough for parents to come out of the bleachers.
Yeah, or nothing that was just so detrimental in your life where it was just and we're just talking about in the game, that maybe something outside of happened, but just in the game, something that was so detrimental that just kind of ruined your life at 8 years old.
When did this happen? Now, I think, not you look really young, but I think we have 3 age groups. Here. So Hollis is...
I'm 43.
I'm 62.
Oh, okay. I thought you were a lot younger than me. So I'm 45. So I thought you were a lot...
Same,
so, when I was a little... This didn't happen. Parents didn't... did they yell a little bit? Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. But it didn't happen. And I don't know where that stops. And, Carl, you said something great. I turned around one time, and I'm coaching 8th grade girls, and I'm competitive as anybody. Well, they yelled something at the ref, and I called the ref over, and I said, hey, next time they throw the ball out of bounds, I want you to yell at them, and I want you to tell them that they're terrible basketball players, and they threw the ball out of bounds. I said, next time they miss a shot, Tell them they're terrible. They can't shoot. They shouldn't shoot the ball anymore. Next time they throw the ball to the other team, tell them they're terrible. I said, because that's what they're trying to. I said, I don't want to hear anybody else say anything to that official, because just like the players make mistakes, the ref's not allowed to make one. He has to be him or her. They have to be perfect.
You can't. And
they have to be perfect.
Because
I don't get that.
And come on, youth basketball, double dribble, walking, all that kind of stuff. It's happening like constantly.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll let it go. Sometimes they'll call it.
Yeah.
But it's always the case. You call it on Hollis, or you don't call it on Hollis, and then you call it on me. Now something's wrong.
Yeah.
Now I'm cussing you out like, you didn't see that, you didn't call that. They got no vested interest. They ain't got a kid playing.
Yeah.
They just want their check.
And they're not moving up to like the NCAA after this.
No.
And I tell them that sometimes. I'm like, do you really think they're coming here to get over on your team? Is that what
your
really?
Kid. They're coming saying, okay, you know what?
Game.
I'm going to foul Hollis's kid out the game.
Now, I'll even tell you this, that I know officials too, they'll protect players. If they know it's a star player and they have the 4 fouls, they're not calling that 5th foul real quick. So they look out for players. They look out for kids. Like, we've had, I can't complain about our officials. I think we have really good ones in our area. It's youth. They'll even stop the kids and say, no, this is what you want to do here. They'll instruct a little bit on the floor for them. And it's more of an instructional thing for them. But the good ones, they're like, I don't listen to the fans. They yell at me all the time. Yeah. They're there helping the kids. So they're not only like reffing the game, they'll say, well, this is why you can't hold the basketball and walk with it. You got to dribble it. Or, this is why you do this. And so not only do some of our officials officiate the games, but they're also acting as a coach right out there on the floor.
And
those are good ones.
And the key is those parents ignore that. They don't see that. Or they, like, if my kid walks and he doesn't get called, I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah. And I've tried to, like, I've had conversations offline about this, because I tried to figure out, like, what is it like a class thing? Is it like a regional thing, depending on where you're from, like how you would act towards officials and how vested you would be in a youth basketball game? But what I found is like it's really all across the board. And you see this sort of bad behavior across, obviously races, you see them across regionals, you see them across even classes. So I can't figure out, because like I said, even we had a cheerleading competition last year, and it was the people from the good area that was acting up. And, you know what I'm saying? So you see it from like all over. So it's not just like one group or this team from this area or that. It's really people all across the board who have these microaggressions towards this thing that's supposed to be fun. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, why are we so invested in this that we could potentially get charges? South Charleston record a couple years ago, it's people that got charged, like criminal charges.
Well, that's unbelievable. Now maybe I could help us out here. How about entitlement? Like, I don't know where we are with kids these days, but it's like we're giving awards for you got 46th place. Here's a trophy for you. And so you always want to win something, and it's that entitlement that maybe is being passed down, and I don't know how to describe it. And I think you guys are doing a great job, but we're trying to get to the bottom, or maybe discuss what has changed. That I was like, you want to go to jail over a middle school basketball game? That's what you want to explain that to your employer tomorrow.
See here, okay. So to this point, and I've said this before, I don't have the problem with the trophies. I really don't, because the kids. There's 10 kids on All-Stars, so 10 or 11. So when they're practicing, there's 5 kids who might not get to play in the game that are helping the other 5 kids who are going to be starters. So all the backdrop of practice and all of that, and again, you're on the All-Stars, so everybody deserves the credit to be part of that team. So if you win, everybody ought to get a trophy because of that. So I'm not stuck on the trophy thing. What I think though is I think the parents don't understand that thought process of where does your kid actually rank in the All-Stars? Where does your kid actually rank on the football team? The basketball team. There's no judgment or they're not placing, they're not looking at it and saying to themselves, okay, he's not a starter, she's not a starter. She can't do the flips. She can't do this.
Yeah.
But then you get into the bleachers and then the game or cheer competition, you're mad because your child ain't getting whatever it is that you think.
But I would say, to that point, I understand where you're going, but I would say it's even the kids who are the stars. The kids who are leading the bus. Yes. We see a lot of times from those parents are just as aggressive as the ones who are not getting a fair shot to play.
Potentially even more.
Potentially even more. And I think what it has to do with, if we were to narrow down, and I'm not even sure this is the correct answer, but if we were to narrow it down, I would say it just has to do with like that stardom. Because now my kid is 8 years old. I got him on all the social medias. He's a star. So now I'm the parent and I'm a star too. Because I raised this great middle school basketball player. They're going to be a star. And they're not a star. We are the stars.
Yeah,
we need to be treated like we're the stars.
I can get
See
that.
What I'm saying?
Yeah. So when we walk in the gym and I'm walking in my 8-year-old son,
it's us.
It's us.
This is in the same thing.
You ought to be happy. You're the coach. You ought to be happy that I'm bringing my 8-year-old son to play basketball for you.
We would have a different conversation, Carl.
But to the other side of that, the same kid who's on the end of the bench. We've put in all this work. We've spent $1,000s on training. Coach, it's not my kid who doesn't have the skill. It's you, coach. You're not giving it. You're not seeing the best out of my kid. You're not pulling the best out of him. It's your fault.
Wow. You guys just made a lot of great Hollis. Piggybacking off what you said, sometimes, as a coach and just seeing and I'm not saying this happened to me, but I've seen it happen, and they're like, well, they go to so-and-so for lessons. I'm like, I don't think that's so-and-so once you advertising that. Because that's
a good point.
And sometimes that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, trust me, I was not the best basketball player in the world. I was not the best baseball player in the world. Did I have fun? Oh, I had lots of fun playing. I did. And, my mom and dad supported me and, were there for all the games. And I had fun playing. And to Carl's point, I don't know if I can remember, like, individual plays here and there, but games and scores, I don't remember. But I tell you what, I remember like the bus rides.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
Bus rides,
yes.
The nights in a hotel. That's the fun stuff that you remember. And I don't know, Hollis, I think you're starting to hit on the topic is like, I was going to say this when you gave me the topics, maybe living through your kid a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe you
a little bit.
A lot bit. Sorry, okay, a lot bit.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think if you're mad at a game, if you're mad at a youth all-star basketball game,
yeah,
then you might want to check. You might want to sit down when you get home and rethink it.
Yeah,
and realize my child is playing in an all-star game, the best players. And they're playing against other all-stars, which are the best players in that community. And we lost by 5. My kid didn't score any points. How do I address my kid? Son, daughter, you're on the all-star team. You're on the all-star team.
Yeah.
You got to, there's just things you got to do to get better. I don't have to say, well, Hollis's daughter didn't pass you the ball, and she's putting the shots up all the time, and you ain't getting your shots. Because if you're saying that, you're not teaching your kid he's not getting anything from the sport.
Yeah.
He's losing from the sport. Because now, like I know, when there's all-stars, there's going to be 2 or 3, especially basketball. There's going to be 2 or 3 kids going to put up the most shots.
Yeah,
all
that's
the time.
How basketball is.
Yeah, they're going to put up the shots because, again, they're all-stars, and they think that their shot is the shot.
And with basketball, they just may be more skilled to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're more skilled, particularly at a younger age, it is what it is.
And that's what I knew who to get the basketball to, and it wasn't me. I'll get you now. Could I pass you the ball and get you the ball in good positions? Oh, I could do that to you. And I'm going to because do you know what's going to happen at the end of the game if I get you the basketball? We're going to win.
Yeah.
And winning solves a lot.
I like winning, but you know what you see nowadays? Even if you win, sometimes it's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Either you don't win by enough, or the right people didn't score.
They didn't score. I'm telling you, when I coached high school football,
you didn't play
it was
enough.
like that. Yeah,
Unless
we would
you
have
didn't play
players.
enough.
We'd beat a team by 50 points and be players pouting. They didn't get a touchdown or didn't get the carries.
I know somebody that got a complaint one time that their kid played too many minutes.
It's crazy.
You're going to wear them out.
And I
Wasn't me, but
That was never a thing.
I hated the thought process of sitting down talking football with my dad. And my dad didn't go to any basketball games, no track, no nothing, because he was a football fan. He wasn't interested in anything else. Me in basketball, my Coach Walton, told me don't shoot. I was never a shooter. He told me to cover that guy, and pass the ball to anybody other than me.
Yeah.
I understood where I ranked and what my skill set was in basketball. Parents have to be able to come to practice, take a look, and see what your kid can and can't do.
But I think, to me, they're not going to. They may be going to practice, but I think they're
some
yeah.
do.
But they're looking at the training. Look at him. He can look at her or him. They can dribble. They can shoot. They do all this good drills against air in training. So they already got the skill set, Coach Lee. So all you got to do is you're not giving them a chance.
And you know what's interesting? What's interesting in youth basketball?
Yeah.
That almost every team presses full court. Mm-hmm. You can't duplicate that in practice. You can't duplicate. No. And those kids are in a absolute panic. They don't know where to throw it, how to dribble. They're walking. They're doing all this. And the parents are upset. But what do you do? Yeah. And again, you do even if you try to practice that, because in most cases the basketball practices that I've seen at the youth level is basically their plays, how to break the press without the press being in front of a crowd and you throwing the ball away and all of that, because it's different in a game when you're getting a press, because all of a sudden what happens is you're nervous and that scares them to death. And it's like, there's nothing you can do.
You can't duplicate that at practice at all. Some of our youth leagues, like the younger youth leagues, have even taken the press out. They're like, you can't press, or if you do, it's got to be like the last minute of the halves. Because if you can, that's a great equalizer. Because I taught pressure defense when I coached, and that's a great equalizer. If you just have some athletes, you can pressure defense will cure a lot of ails in your shooting and even your passing and all your other skills. And they took that out a little bit, which I don't mind. I did mind it, when I first started coaching, but I get the reasoning behind it, because kids will get beat down. If you can press, they won't get the ball past half court.
Yeah, and kids will cry. They'll be frustrated.
And that's what. And I think, like I said, I've said this before on the show. I think baseball has the best model to how the maturation of skill set development skills. Because, like I said, they'll start out with the T-ball, then you go to coach's pitch, then you go to player's pitch, then you kind of just gradually move up. And I think that should be the model for all sports, so we can actually start developing skill sets in game situations. Like I said, if you just got the trainer, you're doing all that fancy stuff, that's cool, but it's not in a game situation. And I think it allows the parents to make that gradual step up with them. Because to your point, I could be doing all this fancy stuff in practice and with my trainer, but once I actually get into the game, that's a different sort of pressure, and I'm actually maybe playing against somebody with an equal and or better skill set than me.
Like you're talking about guys, they're taking it behind their back, taking it through their legs, doing all this kind of stuff because that's what they're being taught.
Yeah.
Teach me how to dribble the ball, and I'm getting pressure. More or less putting it through my legs and behind my back, because that's a long time before I'm going to do that. And then it's the pressure
of the game and everything else. So I think if we could really just, because particularly a sport like basketball and even football to some degree, if I can just come out, if my kid came out of went into middle school and they don't know how to dribble with the right and the left hand. They know how to do defense properly. They can shoot right hand, left hand layups. They got a pretty solid foul shot. I won. That's a good job.
Yeah.
And then we can build on that.
Yes.
But I just think this idea that your kid's supposed to be LeBron James in third grade, like, slow down, man. Like,
he's got a long. It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
Like he's got plenty of time to.
They're not gonna be Caitlin. They're not gonna be Caitlin Cook in fourth grade, guys.
No.
Stop.
No.
Do you know how many scouts we had at our middle school football and basketball games?
I say that all the time.
I'm going to tell you how it's zero. It's zero. And no, hey, we're on Huddle, but I don't think any college coaches are watching our Huddle video. I don't think so.
Yeah, man.
And again, what's the goal? Like at the end of the day, because and I think I've said this to you. I think the student athlete. I think the athlete part gets the primary focus, and the yelling and screaming and all of that comes for the sport and not the academics.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Carl. Okay. So you were good. Okay. You don't have to say it if you're not that type of person.
He is that type of person.
But if you're that's okay. And if you are, I don't mind either. I like that kind of personality. I don't know how to word this without. It's not going to be an insult, but did you make enough money to retire and not have to do another job the rest of your life?
No.
Okay. And you were good.
Yes.
Okay. You were really good.
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't make enough money to retire and never have to do anything else the rest of your life.
Yeah, I still had to do some work. And I still do work. Go ahead.
So these kids, okay, and we're going to get back. You were good, okay, and a lot of the kids that we see probably are not on your level. I mean, do you realize? I mean, you could explain to us the work that you put in and how good just naturally you were too, and you combine those two things, and you still were not able to just say, I'm done with football and I'm not going to do anything else and retire. So you have to fall back on something. Right. And so I think a lot of parents, I don't know if they honestly believe that this is going to be this kid's profession. Like, and then they're going to be able to not do anything the rest of their life. So they're going to have a nice 10-year career, retire and not do anything.
And that's not normal, 10 years.
Yeah, well, here's what I think that they think. They see these contracts that these guys are getting now. Okay? Let me help you. The guys who are getting the $300, the $500 million contracts are the best guys in the world. Okay? At that sport. You need to ask yourself, is there any time that your kid, thus far, are there any signs of your child being the best player on his own individual team? Because if he's not even the best player on his own team, the first issue you got is he even going to go? Is he even going to get to college?
Yeah.
That's your first challenge. Is somebody going to pay for him to come to college? If not, you got to. Is that money set aside? Because if it's not, he's going to get some loans, pay those back some kind of way.
Terrible.
And it's forever. Those loans are forever.
And I would add to this, I would say, in addition to that, we need to focus on, we have the student athlete. It needs to be a kid athlete.
Oh,
right? We need to focus on their emotional intelligence, their development far as how they're processing the things that they're going through. Because to you guys' point, even if they are the number one, they the best in the state, they go to college, they're the best in their conference, best in the region, they actually get that shot at that professional contract. How many athletes have we seen who have those amazing skill sets, just like you talked about, Delegate, and blow it? We seen John Morant just last year blow $50 million in 1 year. And that's I don't care how much he makes. That's a setback. He's going to look at that when he becomes our age and be like, I cannot believe I did that.
He's thinking that now.
He's thinking that now, right? So, and I'm saying to that point, we've seen great high school players. We've seen great college players. And we seen that they blew it because nobody focused on their emotional development when they were at the tender age, when they had the opportunity to. And I think that's the part that we're often, particularly I can say it in this valley because this is where I'm at. I think we totally missed that. We send them to training. We do all this other stuff, but nobody's talking to them. Nobody's saying, hey, what do you, I know you love football, you love basketball, baseball. What else you're interested in? You're interested in this, that. Well, how are you processing winning? How are you processing losing? You know, all these different emotions that's coming up that we have to deal with that we're not.
I spoke to a group of athletes at Hampton University this past week. And one of the things that I tried to explain to them was, and there was no seniors, upcoming seniors, even there, okay? So I tried to make the case that when I played a football game and I was tired, I'm standing up and I'm breathing. When I work out, I'm bent over, like I'm bending myself over. I'm working myself to a point that I am dead tired on my own. If you don't do that, I don't care what your dream is with a ball, you ain't gonna make it. And you can send a kid to a trainer. If that trainer's not beating him down to where the point that he's dying.
And the thing is, with that same philosophy, you may not make it with a book.
Exactly.
If you don't think have that same sort of drive and commitment.
It's the exact same thing. If you don't have that same commitment in the books, and you don't have it in the athletic side, you're not a student or an athlete. Yeah. And that's the problem. Because I'm the fool who would say I'm going to put one in front of the other. I put the ball in front of the book. But it wasn't even close. I've said it 1,000 times on the show. But the work that I was willing to put in.
But and I'll say this, but you also had a mother.
Oh yeah, that was killing me about that.
But even above the athletics, I'm sure she was driving that emotional intelligence. She was making sure that number 39 didn't forget about Carl.
Yes.
She made sure that, and I'm saying as a parent, that's what has to happen. No matter what they're doing on the field, even in the classroom, you have to, as a parent, I can't make you lose the person that you'll eventually have to live with, because we all know this thing ended, whether it's high school, college, or the pros. It's going in.
It's going in.
It's done. You're going to end after a point.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to get off of here, but I'm gonna close here by saying sports, man, is one of the greatest things that you can participate in. But it has to be fun. Yes. It has to be fun. And parents, just watch it. Just watch it. Don't get involved, because you're not doing it. Just sit there and enjoy it while you're there. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to reiterate, what I remember is having fun.
Yeah.
And when I coach the kids hard, and I said, practice isn't going to be fun.
Right.
Like, that's not going to be fun. The games, you win, that's fun.
Yeah, that's.
I said, but what the fun you're going to have is that group, that togetherness, that camaraderie.
That you don't ever forget.
100%.
That you don't forget is that, you'll forget the games.
Yep. And
you'll forget that, but you'll remember each other. And I think that's important. I think, going back to what Hollis said is what are you really going for? What's the plan? And I think with team sports, I think it's a great avenue for kids for just to get together and socialize with each other, because, they're on their phone all the time. But when are they not on their phone?
On the field.
When they're on the field.
Yeah. On the field. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back at you again soon. We're out.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.